collar, white collar, black professors, white scholars, politicians, Dalai Lamas. Everybody in the whole wide world need hope if I be honest. I'm in that number.
I'll holler at you later. Peace. Hey, this is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. How you doing today? Sharp words over wall halt plans for Mexican president to visit the White House, according to the New York Times. President Trump at the G20 Germany 2017 summit last year began to talk. He continued his strong stance on we're going to build a wall. He dropped the and we're going to make Mexico pay for it because they're a little punk and caved in. And that's why I don't understand why Democrats caving into this guy. This guy, he's weak, man. He's weak. And you caving in? So for you to cave in, make you weaker. We got weak people in office, man. Let me go ahead and go through the story. Washington, President Trump refusal to publicly drop his demand that Mexico pay for a wall on its border with the United States has derailed tentative plans for President Enrique Peña Nieto to make his first visit to the Trump White House next month, after contentious telephone call last week re-inflamed tensions on the issue, American and Mexican officials said. So in other words, Trump keeps trying to stroke this. It ain't happening, Captain. You can't force nobody to pay nothing. The two presidents agreed to scrap the trip after what had been planned as a diplomatic phone call to lay the groundwork for a meeting devolving into a bitter quarrel over the wall, a signature campaign promise of Mr. Trump that has long outraged Mr. Peña Nieto, who has said Mexico has no intention to pay for your wall. You're a rich billionaire. Pay for your own freaking wall. Besides, they're going through tunnels, Doc. Wall ain't going to do nothing. It's a waste of time. Oh, it's going to be high. It's going to be beautiful with a big, beautiful door and a big, beautiful bore. Shut up. The two presidents agreed to scrap the trip after what had been planned as a diplomatic phone call to lay down the groundwork for a meeting devolved in a bitter quarrel over the wall, a signature campaign promise of Mr. Trump that has long outraged Mr. Peña Nieto, who has said Mexico has no intention of building the wall or paying for it. The episode, reported early by the Washington Post, is the last instance of Mr. Trump clashing sharply with the leader of a longtime ally and of his penchant for eschewing diplomatic niceties in favor of a hard-edged confrontation. It was also demonstrated that let me stop right there. So Trump going to come try to bully this guy into paying for the wall. Trump don't understand this is why he shouldn't have never been president. And Hillary Clinton wouldn't have did none else. She would have probably bullied the dude also, just like she bullied Bill around. You can't bully people, and it's going to blow up in his face. And that's why the nations of the world are kind of detaching. They're not scared of the United States. They're not. They just don't want to have nothing to do with Trump. They realize how great this country is, and they love and admire this country, but they don't like the leader, because the leader is bullying people around like some spoiled brat. I'm not an Obama fan, but at least he has some diplomacy, some decorum about himself. The episode, reportedly early by the Washington Post, is the last instance of Mr. Trump clashing sharply with the leader of a longtime ally and of his penchant for eschewing diplomatic niceties in favor of a hard-edged confrontation. Always confront. It also demonstrates the degree to which the wall has come to be a major sticking point between the two neighbors, fraying decades of friendly relations and potentially blocking progress on other vital issues. In the call, Mr. Trump balked at Mr. Peña Nieto's attempts to secure a commitment that he would concede publicly during his visit to Washington that Mexico would not pay for the border wall. The official said, speaking on the condition of anonymity, to describe the confidential conversation. Mr. Trump grew exasperated, one official said, when Mr. Peña Nieto did not drop the matter and moved on to other issues. The blow-up left officials on both sides deeply disappointed that months of construction, negotiations, laying the groundwork for a meeting between the president and rebuilding trust between the government has been scuttled in one phone conversation. Excuse me. Thank you. The president were hoping to use Mr. Peña's Nieto visit to Washington to sign a number of bilateral treaties covering the drug fight, border issue, and other matters, and to discuss trade, including the stature of their efforts to renegotiate NAFTA, the officials said. By Sunday, both governments were eager to put the best possible face on the squabble, insisting that a meeting was still possible and that relations had not suffered an irreparable blow. We enjoy a great relationship with Mexico, and the two administrations have been working for years to deepen our cooperation across the range of issues, including security, immigration, trade, economics. Michael Anton, a spokesman for the National Security Council, said in a statement. After the call, Jared Kushner, Mr. 666 Fifth Avenue, yep, that's the name of the building, figures. Mr. Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor spoke with Mr. Peña Nieto, and the two agreed they should keep working on areas of agreement, another administration official said. Mr. Peña, sir. His address is 666 Fifth Avenue. Don't that say something? Don't do deals with the devil. Both sides said a possible meeting between the two presidents remained on the table, though not on the timeline or in the style that it has been planned. The confrontation, according to Mexican officials, chilled the warmth and goodwill that had been built up between the two sides over months of negotiations and sapped whatever level of trust had been developed after the difficult start to a relationship. It was not the first time that a disagreement over the wall spoiled the chances for two presidents to establish rapport. In another test he called shortly after Mr. Trump was inaugurated last year, the president pressed Mr. Peña Nieto to stop saying publicly that he would not pay for the wall, saying that would be precondition for future talks. Here you again, a bully, please don't stop. That ain't bullying. That's a coward. That's cowarding. Please don't keep saying out loud that we're not going to build a wall. You're making me look bad. We're not building the wall. I don't care what you say. That was a Nigerian accent. We're not building the wall, Mr. President. Sorry. No, that sounds Russian. If you're going to say that Mexico is not going to pay for the wall, then I do not want to meet with you guys anymore. And guess what? Fine. Don't meet with me, because you're not getting that. Because I cannot live with that, Trump said. I cannot live with that. You're going to have to, Doc. You're going to have to. Mr. Trump said, according to the transcript of that call obtained by the Post and Post Online last summer, Mr. Peña Nieto told Mr. Trump during the call that the notion of Mexico paying for the wall, when you the one want it, and you the one got the money, you don't even need to get it from American people. Spend your own money, Mr. Big Daddy Warbucks. Spend your own money. It is completely unacceptable for Mexicans. I got to use the Telemundo voice when I talk like him. Let me say it one more time. Mr. Peña Nieto told Mr. Trump during the call that the notion of Mexico paying for the wall was completely unacceptable for Mexicans, saying it would be politically toxic for him to ever accept it. But Mr. Trump told Mr. Peña, that he regarded his vow that Mexico would pay for the wall as a political imperative that he had dared not relinquish. Dude, you got to understand, they're not Americans. They ain't got to do what you tell them to do. Daddy Warbucks. The issue derailed the first attempt by Americans and Mexicans government to coordinate a meeting between the two presidents. During the January 2017 visit to Washington by Foreign Minister Luis Videgaray to arrange and announce visits, Mr. Trump took to Twitter to complain. There you go, wimping again, that Mexico seemed unwilling to pay for the border wall. Of course, man. Duh. Mr. Videgaray suspended all of his meetings and returned home. It was clear to Mexican officials then that there would be no benefits to Mr. Peña Nieto in meeting with Mr. Trump. The collapse of the new tentatively scheduled March visit was similarly erupted when Mr. Vidagré returned from a visit to Washington 10 days ago. He seemed pleased with its progress. The Mexican foreign minister published a picture of Mr. Vidagré at a working lunch with Mr. Kirchner, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, Mr. Trump National Security Advisor, and various members of the cabinet, including Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. Tucked into the account of the foreign minister's trip was news that came as a surprise to Mexicans. The two sides had agreed to begin planning meetings between Peña Nieto and Mr. Trump. The idea was met with astonishment in Mexico, where Mr. Trump is widely despised for his stream of insults against Mexican immigrants and had insisted on building a wall and sticking Mexico with the bill. A cartoon last Sunday in the newspaper, Reformer asked incredulously why the trip was planned, noting that Mr. Trump had not changed any of his policies, and depicted Mr. Trump smashing a pie in Mr. Peña Nieto's face. Before the phone conversation, the two sides agreed at the behest of Mr. Trump's team that the president should avoid talking about thorny issues that had scuttled their first planned meeting. The Mexican official said the Trump administration officials told the Mexican counterparts that they would ensure that the president would not dwell on past disagreements. But during the call, the official said Mr. Trump lost his temper. A White House official said Mr. Trump has simply become frustrated with Mr. Peña Nieto's insistence on staying on the subject of the wall. In other words, he cried and had a temper tantrum because this dude said, "Bruh, give it up. I ain't entertain that. You can do whatever you want to do, but don't talk to me about that. That's off the table." Now, you got anything else you want to talk about? Oh, no, he just can't handle that. No, I want to talk about this, and we ain't talking about this, we ain't talking about nothing else. Shut up with that cowardice. Weak. Backing down. The Mexican government has more than the damage to Mr. Peña Nieto's reputation to worry about. His hand-picked cabinet to succeed him, former Finance Minister Jose Antonio Meade, is running in third place the July 1st presidential election. A botched meeting between the two presidents could ricochet and hurt Mr. Meade's struggling campaign. The White House and the Mexican government issued separate short statements on Tuesday, knowing that the two presidents had spoken by phone to exchange condolences over the high school massacre in Parkland, Florida, and a helicopter crash in Oaxaca, Mexico. The Mexican statement said the government would continue their bilateral agenda, though the coordinated efforts of their team. Mr. Peña Nieto's spokesman, Edward Sanchez, said Saturday night that the Mexican government had nothing else to add to that statement. The White House said Mr. Trump had underscored his commitment to expanding cooperation between the United States and Mexico on security, trade, and immigration. So, Mr. Trump, again, dude is telling him no, don't entertain it. I'm not gonna do it. And he's gonna say, please do it. Don't say you're gonna do it. Don't say you're not gonna do it on TV, because you're making me look bad. You're embarrassing me, man. Please don't do this to me. Weak politicians. Don't you love them? I'm Rob with the Rob Report. Peace. Hey, if you like the content and if you like this particular video, please like it, share it. Also, if you want to become a patron, you can click the link below and become a patron. I'm no Don Lemon, thank God. So again, like, share, subscribe to the channel. We're over 1,500. We're on the march to 5,000. Please click the subscribe button and hit the notification button so you can know exactly when I put a new video up. If you like the content, hit our Patreon account up. A few bucks to get a brother a cup of coffee, maybe a hot dog and a soda from 7-Eleven. Even though I don't need that.